How's it going, everybody? Today, we're going to be talking about one of the greatest comics of the past decade and one of my favorite comics of all time, and that is the Immortal Hulk. This run, yes, I have the entire omnibus of this comic because it was so good, I had to buy it. And let me tell you, it was a good idea because this run is absolutely fantastic. It is genuinely incredible. See what I did there? Wink. But yeah, it's amazing. And nearly won an Eisner. It literally sold more comics than Batman at one point. It was genuinely on top for a little bit. But before we get into this little deep dive, well, surface level deep dive, because deep dives need scripts and I don't write that because this is all off the cuff. I am going to go into some background details on how this comic came to be. Now, during the whole all new, all different Marvel comic era from 2015 to 2017, Bruce Banner was not the Hulk. In fact, the Hulk was Amadeus Cho. Now, the reason Bruce Banner was not the Hulk was an entire generator was blowing up and the Hulk had to absorb it all, but he absorbed too much and he was gonna explode. So Amadeus Cho came in and sucked all of the radiation out of the Hulk, including all of his gamma radiation, making Bruce Banner just a regular guy. So yeah, and the writer of the whole new Hulk, the whole Amadeus Cho era of the Hulk, was the one and the only Greg Pak. Yeah, I know, the guy who created Planet Hulk, the guy who created World War Hulk, all those cool Hulk storylines, it was written by this guy. So you would think that, oh wow, we got another classic run in our hands. No, this run is considered possibly one of the worst Hulk runs of our generation. It's genuinely not very good. In fact, it's quite the opposite of incredible. It was the terrible Hulk. The terrible, totally terrible Hulk. And it was nada. It was just really cringe, dialogue cringe, characters cringe. It was a very cringe moment in Hulk history. And we're all happy to forget about it. In fact, the comic doesn't even exist. I don't even know what I'm talking about. This was a real shit show of a comic. So of course, everybody wanted Bruce Banner to go back to being a Hulk. He was alive, right? He could just go back to being a Hulk. Maybe Amadeus could push the gamma radiation back into his body, and have a little do-over. He doesn't have to be the Hulk anymore. It'd be fine. It'd be great. We'll all love it. Wait, the fuck? He's dead? Holy shit. Yeah. Bruce Banner died during the whole Civil War II arc. By the way, shitty arc. Nobody really liked it. It was just there to tie into the Captain America Civil War movie. It was bad. It didn't matter very much. The only big thing of consequence is that Bruce Banner died and Tony Stark became an AI, but that's another thing. But yeah, Bruce Banner fucking died, so we were stuck with douche Hulk over here. And it was a pretty sad error for all Hulk heads out there. But don't worry, a light was at the end of the tunnel, and that light was Al Ewing. He came in and brought us one of the best eras of the Hulk ever. In fact, it's so good that pretty much every other writer of the Hulk, minus this guy, wanted to just take what he told and make it basically be the type of Hulk comics that would be written for the rest of the centuries, I suppose, or whatever. But before we get into that, we gotta get into some other bullshit. The Hulk came back a couple times. He died again, but he was mostly just a zombie or a mind-controlled goon for the most part. And then came to Avengers No Surrender arc. And I never read that book. I've heard good things about it, but the thing that is most important to this video is the fact that this is the one that brought back the Hulk permanently. And it was really fucking cool. This guy, I think his name is the Challenger, whatever. Anyway, yeah, this guy brings the Hulk back to life and tells him to go fight the Avengers. The Hulk was just okay, sure, whatever. And he goes fights the Avengers, and then the Avengers convince him not to fight them, and he's just oh, okay, and then he just fucks off. He punches the Challenger though, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, the Hulk is back, baby. He's back, and he's better than ever. And he's also a bit weird. He isn't as the typical dumb Hulk, the dumb, lovable, beans-eating, dog-loving Hulk that we all love to see. In fact, he's a bit more sinister, a bit more devilish, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink. You see what I did there? But yeah, this isn't the Hulk that we're mostly used to. This one is smarter. He's a bit more intelligent. He's way more articulate with his words. He's definitely there to stay though, because this Hulk is not the Hulk that we're mostly used to. This is the Devil Hulk. Now, if you haven't watched my video on the Devil Hulk that came out 9 months ago and is pretty shit, that's okay. You probably shouldn't watch it. As I said, it's not a good video. But yeah, this character was created all the way back in 2000s by this writer, Paul Jenkins, another British writer who helped create some really good Hulk stories. But yeah, he was created by Paul Jenkins, and he was a pretty interesting character. He was basically the dark, evil part of a Hulk inside the deepest, darkest recesses of Bruce Banner's mind. He's like all chained up and stuff, and he wants to like destroy the world and whatnot. But, you know, Bruce doesn't let him do that, and he keeps him chained in the back of his head. He also did this really fucked up thing where he forced Bruce to, like, imagine an entire world where everybody loved him, that he married Betty, and he had children with her, and it was pretty messed up because it was all just an illusion, a fantasy, and Bruce had to break himself out of that, and, you know, he broke up like this. It was a really sad storyline. Really cool, but also really, really fucked up. Just goes to show that Bruce Banner has a really terrible life and is probably the most traumatized person in the Marvel Universe, to be honest. But yeah, one of my favorite parts about this comic series is the callbacks to older comics, to comics that probably a lot of people haven't read or have read, but are surprised to see these callbacks again after like 20, 30 years. And these callbacks are good. They're not just there to be like, oh, hint, hint, shrug, shrug, remember that, that was really cool, remember those comics, remember this comics, remember this character. No, it actually develops the characters and the story. It actually makes sense. The Devil Hulk isn't there to just be scary and want to kill everybody. No, he's an integral part of the story. He's a main personality in the Hulk system. And he's actually not evil. He wasn't created to, you know, want to hurt people. He was created to protect Bruce, because Bruce, if you didn't know, has a pretty shitty father. His father is probably one of the worst in all of fiction. And the Devil Hulk was created as a coping mechanism to have a loving father. But because Bruce can't think of love without pain, he created him to look like this thing. What the fuck is this? So yeah, as I said, Bruce, not a very healthy guy. But to get back to point, the callbacks in these comics are pretty great. We even get callbacks to like the Professor Hulk and Joe Fixit, who also becomes an integral part of the story. If you don't know, Joe Fixit was the Grey Hulk. He was pretty important during Peter David's first couple of issues of the Incredible Hulk, and he was basically the main character at that point once the Green Hulk wasn't there. He basically replaced the Green Hulk. And, you know, to see him again as a main character after like 20 years of absence was really cool. And as I said, he played a really big role. He saved Bruce a bunch of times. He became a new version of the Grey Hulk with Red Hulk powers, so now he could absorb cosmic radiation, which in the Hulk world is like kryptonite to the Hulk, because gamma radiation and cosmic radiation are like opposite ends of the radiation spectrum for some reason. It's really weird. Basically, cosmic radiation is God energy, gamma radiation is devil energy, and they don't really mix all that well. But the cosmic Grey Hulk was able to absorb it, so that's pretty cool. My other favorite part of this comic is how he reinvents the wheel. Usually, Hulk comics typically have its own thing. They're basically just science fiction adventure stories with sometimes a little bit of horror mixed into it here and there. And usually they stick to that formula, and they stick to the Hulk's basic traditional origin story. He was created by the Gamma Bomb. He was basically like a split personality of Bruce Banner that he created as a coping mechanism for his dad's abuse. And that's basically the end of it. That's basically how it usually is. But this one, it's way different. The way it portrays gamma radiation as an actual mystical source of like devil energy that comes from the deepest recesses of the Marvel Universe hell, known as the Below Place, and it comes from like the evil version of the One Below All, who is the god of the Marvel Universe. He's the one below all, and he is the devil of the Marvel Universe, and he's the one who like creates Hulks. He is the creator of Hulks because he is the original Hulk. He's literally God's Hulk, and that is super interesting, and it gives you an understanding of what the Hulk truly is. He isn't just some monster created out of a freak accident. He was created using like divine energy as a sort of avatar of like destruction and mayhem. But, you know, he doesn't have to be that. And that's another thing that the Immortal Hulk does well. It's themes. It's themes of, does a Hulk have to hurt all the time? Does a Hulk have to be a violent, you know, monster? Does Bruce Banner have to keep pushing away his mental illness? Or does he accept that? Does he push away all of his friends? Or does he try to, you know, bring them all in? Does he try to be happy and healthy for once? And does the Hulk truly hate Bruce Banner, or does he actually love Bruce Banner and their relationship is strained because they just don't understand each other? It's just all these things make for a really good story and for interesting character building, because beyond that, Bruce Banner, while a great character on his own, hasn't really delved deep into all that much until this one. This one is a true character study of his person. We get to understand why he does the things he does, and, you know, understand why, you know, the Hulks keep, you know, splitting into different personalities. As we all know, Bruce has DID, and it's been there since he was a young kid. He was able to basically push it back into the recesses of his mind as he got older, but you know, the Hulk and the Gamma Bomb basically brought it back out in a very destructive way. And originally, like most people, he was afraid of it. He didn't want this power, and he didn't want the anger that came with it, but throughout the series, you see him actually trying to work with the Hulk and accepting the Hulk as his own being and his own self. And it's great. It's really cool to see this character building. Of course, it's lost in the Donny Cates run of the Hulk, which was pretty terrible, but you know, aside from that, it was really cool to see all this character building and all, you know, these relationships being formed with himself and with others. And of course, we can't get into the horror comic without talking about the horror aspects of it. And let's be honest, it's pretty fucking great. The Cronenberg-esque body horror and all the art that comes with it is fucking insane. Like, this guy literally absorbs another man into his body because he fucked with Bruce. Like, that's some middle shit right there. That is some intense shit right there that we're seeing. And it was pretty great, honestly. Reading that the first time was pretty awesome. Also, because of his newfound powers, the Hulk gets a really big healing boost. He is basically Deadpool at this point. He can absorb people into his body, he can be cut in half and brought back together again. And as I said, body horror, absolutely on point. Like, look at this guy. This is the Absorbing Man, and he's possessed by the devil, and now he looks like something out of a fucking Cronenberg film. It's genuinely amazing. It's awesome to see this, honestly. We don't see this a lot in a lot of modern Marvel comics, so to see this sort of horror represented in a mostly mainstream comic company, it's pretty awesome. It feels something out of it like an indie book, but it isn't. It's a mainstream comic book hero that's been around for like 60 years. So yeah, it was always cool to see that. Also, we get a lot of cosmic horror because, as I said before, Hulk's powers come from the literal devil. So of course, we go to hell in this comic, and hell in this comic is absolutely fucking terrifying. You know, it's filled in with the terrible memories of your past, trying to basically kill you and stuff like that. And this is the devil. He's a giant green fart cloud. That's not the scary part. It gets worse as the comic goes on, but that was probably the worst part of it. Just seeing the devil as just a giant fart cloud is a bit meh. But the reason why he looks like that is because he's controlling the Hulk's dad. That's right, Brian Banner is back at it again, baby. And man, he's a fucking terrible person. He takes over the Hulk's body once and tries to fight the Avengers, and he takes over Sasquatch's body and tries to kill the Hulk once again. Like, this guy is really fucking evil. Like, he tries to take over all of hell and tries to kill Bruce Banner in hell. Luckily, that didn't happen, and Bruce manages to escape, and we get this really cool scene between the Devil Hulk and Bruce. And basically, Devil Hulk is basically saying that the reason why he's there, the reason why he never lets Bruce die, is because he loves him. He loves Bruce. He was there to be as a father figure to Bruce. And it's a really cool scene to see. Like, to see a Hulk actually confirm that he does love Bruce Banner, it's really heartwarming. You know, all this is happening in hell, but still, it's really nice. Of course, not every comic is perfect, and this one does have its flaws. And the main flaws is kind of the political aspects. Now, Al Ewing is still really good at making some pretty good points here and there, politically speaking, but a lot of it has to do with like environmental stuff, and it's really on the nose at times. It's like hilariously on the nose. Like, there's this one issue where it's basically, you know, a father who's a cop trying to stop all those stupid kids protesting and making a ruckus at those poor billionaires. How disgusting. And, you know, it's pretty cringe at times. Like, there's like Hulk makes an entire like speech about how the humans are destroying the planet with like global warming and shit like that, and it's really on the nose. In fact, it's basically on your entire fucking face. It's like tattooed there, and you know, it's not very subtle, if you know what I mean. Also, there's this character, Jackie McGee. She's actually a sort of reintroduction of the character Jack McGee, who was a character in the 70s TV show. So again, really cool callback. But the problem is that she's a really fucking annoying character. Like, she is super annoying. She basically just kind of belittles Bruce a lot, and she wants to be like the Hulk and stuff like that. Like, it's an entire thing. She's not a very interesting character or a very likable character, at least in my opinion. I didn't like her very much. I get what he was trying to go for. He was trying to go for like a human character for us to fill the shoes in so we can understand what's like being a human, you know, close to the Hulk. But still, it didn't really work out for me all that much. I much prefer Rick Jones to her. She's just really fucking annoying. She doesn't have that Rick Jones charm and, you know, charisma that comes with that character. So yeah, I didn't like her very much. Also, Betty Banner is back, and she's the Red Harpy. She was originally the Red She-Hulk, and then she lost those powers because of Doc Green. That was a whole thing. And now she's back as the Red Harpy, because the Harpy is another callback when she turned into like a Green Harpy all the way back in like the 70s comics. So another cool callback, but she's also a really fucking annoying character. She basically hates Bruce at this point, and their relationship is pretty much gone. She likes the other Hulks. She transforms back into her Betty form whenever she's around the other Hulks, but when Bruce is around, she transforms into the Red Harpy, and it's a very bitchy behavior. It's super annoying, and she like bangs the Gray Hulk. She does that a lot. Actually, she's been doing that in a lot of Marvel comics, just banging the Hulk as a way to like punish Bruce for some reason. It's very cuntish, if you know what I mean, and it really makes me dislike her more and more as the comics go on. And then she got the goal to be pissed off at Grey Hulk when Bruce is stuck in hell, and the Grey Hulk was the only one to escape. And she's like, "How would you leave Bruce back there?" And you're like, "Bitch, you don't even give a shit about Bruce. You treat him like shit every chance you get. Why do you give a fuck?" Yeah, she's a really annoying character. I don't like her very much. I didn't like these two characters all that much, but despite that, despite the on-the-nose environmental messaging, it's still a really great comic, and it still does a lot of things right for the Hulk. The entire series is basically a giant love letter to the Hulk. All the callbacks, all the reinterpretations, and the reinventions of this character was basically just to show Hulk fans that, hey, you guys are still loved, and you know, this is a giant thank you for paying attention to these comics and trying to understand them more. Because, you know, without you guys, we wouldn't have things like Immortal Hulk. And it generally feels like that, a sort of gift from Al Ewing to us Hulk fans, as a way to say, yeah, thank you for paying attention to our comics. And it's really great, it's really nice, and it really makes the impact of the series all that much better. So yeah, that's basically it for me today. As I said, this is more or less a ramble or gushing about this comic series, not really an in-depth video on it, because I don't really write scripts for this sort of stuff, so I just wanted to talk about things I liked about this series, and things that I hope you guys will like about it too, because it's generally good. As I said, I didn't want to spoil it, so honestly, you guys should really read the book, because it's really that good. You should get the omnibus because it has the entire series. It also has the Gamma Flight side story, which actually ties into the original story. It has all 50 issues, a couple of side stories, and all that stuff. And it's only worth like $100 if you have that sort of money, or you could just do the things that a lot of people do and just pirate it. You know, you could always do that. But yeah, thanks for the views. Thanks for watching. Next video next week, obviously. Like, comment, subscribe, follow my Instagram, and I'll see you next time.